Good morning, Creative Ones. It's Melissa. Good morning from Bali. Sending you so much love wherever you are on this wonderful wild world, earth plane, multi-dimensional human experience. I want to talk about karmic energy and the intensity also of this last, really it's all been intense, right? But this last moon was really, really powerful in terms of, and this was my own experience as well, of going through old ancestral trauma and wounds and survival fears and karmic patterns that are coming up for another round of, I think it's really important to talk about. It's not just about clearing. I think in the clearing community, we can really over-identify with the clearing process, and that's just one side of the coin, right? There's a release absolutely that has to happen that's required for our evolution, and there's also an activation. So this is why when I was called and really, channeled and elevated some of the healing technologies that have been given to me in my own journey, I was called to integrate them in the paint and kind of take them to the next level, because my own consciousness, my own insight, my own calling was really to evolve, right? Like my background's in clinical psychology, expressive arts therapy, transpersonal psychology, clinical, and I realized that was just one dimension, right? Really just working with the mind, sometimes the emotion. If you're working with a somatic therapist, or even an expressive arts or art therapist, sometimes with the body, but if the orientation and the approach is rooted in a limited consciousness, you're going to get limited results. It's just cosmic law, right? So I'm not going to go into the whole story of how, maybe I'll do that in another video. That would be really cool, of how I found this work and was called to evolve this really powerful medicine. It's really powerful alchemy, using creative alchemy, which was the first process I downloaded, and that really came to me from working with lots of people in the studio over the years, and in my creative arts, my expressive arts, my intuitive arts studio, and facilitating intuitive painting and intuitive painting retreats for over a decade. And I saw the same thing over and over again. People get stuck in their creative process, and it would be it would be tied to a limited belief. They would feel it in the body, right? It's multidimensional. And that's when I really saw, like, oh, we need to evolve these technologies, these healing modalities. And that's what I was called to do. And also to pave a way. Of course, I had to use it in my own journey. I had to evolve it in my own journey. And then I had to, start working with other people and sharing it. And I think the biggest thing too that I've learned in this process is that, I'm a facilitator, I'm a guide, I'm a catalyst, I'm an alchemist, and I'm definitely an activator. Like, I will help transmute and guide you through transmuting your own shadow, your own traumas, your blocks, your limitations, your perceived limitations, right? I'm very intuitive. I know exactly where to go, and I can see it in all the dimensions and how it shows up for you, and what you need to let go of in order to create space for what you are wanting to come in, right? That's our evolution. So we are also in this new paradigm, right? In the fifth dimensional healing. It's not even healing. It's really, the alchemy, the technologies of alchemy, learning to transmute density, trauma, fear, limitation, pain, suffering, illness, sickness, into light at the energetic form. Every illness, whether it's mental or physical or however it shows up, has a energetic root. And I just had a powerful breakthrough around this personally in my own life. Like I've talked about it in a couple of my past videos, and I'm going to talk more about it. I'll probably just do a video on that because it was so powerful. But I was getting these intense allergic reactions in my hands. I would break out in rashes. About 4 months ago. And it was also right before I was really committed to staying in Bali and getting our kita visa and investing in Bali, investing in a life here and investing in business. And I had to let go of a bunch of stuff that, I'll be honest, I don't think I was truly ready to let go of. And it was associated with pain, that deep pain that I had to clear and evolve to step into this next level of my soul's purpose, to step into this next level of creation, of mastery, of service, of parenting, you know, and it always, this happens, right? There's a higher purpose to everything. So me going through and journeying with this, you know, allergy situation where I was having basically almost anaphylactic shock. We didn't know if it was seafood. I was breaking out in these incredible rashes on my hands, and they were terribly itchy. I've never had anything like this. And I thought it was just, oh, I'm in Bali, you know, wild woman living in, there's all these, of course, there's all these foreign substances that my system isn't used to. But when I really tuned in to the energetics of it and the emotion around an allergic reaction, it was actually rage. It was rage. It was anger. It was like a poison. It had some shame in it. And I realized, I don't know where this is from. I didn't have a logical, right? The mind always wants to overanalyze and say, this is the story. It didn't even, it could have been ancestral. Like, I don't even know. But what I did know is that it was coming up to be released. And the more that I worked with it, with creative alchemy, with karmic alchemy, and also doing ceremony, detoxing, allowing it, like not pathologizing it and not pathologizing myself, right? And just seeing as, oh, my body is trying to tell me something. I also did some tapping too, tapping with Brad. I really love, check him out. Tapping, what I used that really helped, I think, was tapping with Brad on inflammation. That in conjunction with all these other multidimensional tools, because tapping is also a multidimensional tool, right? EFT. And there's various variations of that as well. But that, along with really honoring the anger, I mean, it was fire. It was like fire in my body, right? And it was different than the Kundalini. That's a whole nother, right? The Kundalini was pushing it up to the surface, of course. But this was like it was like a fire, and it was also like my body was trying to protect itself from like this intense emotion being released. And it felt old, like it didn't feel like it. I mean, there are probably threads of it to this lifetime, of course, right? Because it's here, but I didn't attach to the story around it. So I want to talk about karmic energy. So that's just an example of how I've been working with and really like being called and being initiated into these fifth dimensional and beyond multi-dimensional healing technologies, right? And perceptions and level of consciousness. And because if I were to have gone to, you know, I did a video about this last week. The remedy is only as effective as the level of consciousness that created it. It's just like Einstein's powerful quote around, you know, we are only, a problem can only be solved at the level of consciousness. You have to shift your consciousness in order to solve the problem, right? So problems are really a gateway into our evolution. Illnesses, healing crises, whatever it is, right? So with this, of course, I had another layer of karmic energy that came up, and this for me was ancestral on many levels, and which I think for a lot of us, and I've been seeing that in the field and with many others, confirming my own experience, that many of you are experiencing these ancestral, and it's a big theme in the collective because it needs to come up right now so that we can evolve beyond it, so we can evolve our conscious beyond it, and then make different choices, right? And when we free ourselves, we free our family line as well. Yeah? So this has definitely been a big part of my own journey, the ancestral alchemy. And I think it's really important, going back to talk about karmic energy, that karmic energy from my perspective and my way of working with it, the way that I have been really guided, and a lot of this is from training, but training through my own experience and working with different facilitators, and then through my own source knowing, is that karmic energy is the level of consciousness with which we are creating. That's all karma is. Like when Sophie was born, I'll never forget this oracle saw her, and I was like, she was such a powerful baby, just so present. And she had this Buddha-like aspect, but she would just stare into people's eyes, like at a soul level. And I remember this oracle said, she has a lot of karma. And I was like, what, and then I got the download. It was like, oh, she has a lot of creator consciousness, right? It's not good or bad. That keeps us in duality of the third dimension, right? Because good karma, bad karma, that's an old paradigm way of experiencing karma. What karma really is the level of consciousness with which you're creating. When you collapse the polarity of the good and the bad, the right and the wrong of the third dimension, you step into 5D, you neutralize that, you unify that within yourself, right? So karmic energy, working with karmic energy is working with creator consciousness. It's either going to be dense, right? Thick, heavy, because there's a lot of lessons and karmic patterns and imprints, right, that you are a slave to, right? And so that energy, that power, that karmic energy is dormant, almost like within you until you receive the lessons, until you wake up, take creative conscious responsibility for your life. That doesn't mean that you don't ask for support and that you're not supported by people that are capable of supporting you in a loving and generative way. But it does mean that you're taking full responsibility and accountability for everything showing up in your life, because then you have the power to change it. If not, you stay a victim to your circumstances. So the way that I work with karma is creator consciousness. We look at the karmic patterns and the karmic imprints that consistently show up in your life. So if you have ancestors, you were born into a family, this is for your soul's evolution so that you can learn these lessons, these powerful karmic lessons, and integrate them and break the cycle of trauma, because trauma and karma are intimately linked. You can just look at the patterns. So I'll give you a quick assignment. I want you to look at wherever you're feeling stuck, whether it's relationships. I mean, we're all evolving globally out of a global consciousness around relationships, out of codependency into co-creation. So everyone's going to be going through these challenges. It's just like, the healing crisis of COVID and everyone's having their own unique experience with it, depending on what they need for their own soul's evolution. But I want you to list out, where are you feeling stuck? Where are you feeling stuck? Where do you see a reoccurring pattern that you feel like you can't break out of? That's karmic energy, right? And there's a soul lesson. There's something there for you to learn, to integrate. There's trauma to heal, most likely. There's trapped emotions and repressed emotions that need to be felt so you can receive the gifts, right? That's the activation. So we have the release, the letting go, and then we have the activation. Once we get the lesson, we are in a new state of consciousness. Right? And therefore, then we can create the solutions, right? But we're different. We've changed. We've changed at a consciousness level. Got it? All right, I'm going to do part 2 in a minute.